So we're in the 206 HDi, Mrs. Piggy's car, 2-litre HDi, so I'm going to do a service on this, and the principles are going to be based for any vehicle really, within reason, and certainly useful for the 2-litre HDi. If you can see, a little spanner symbol comes up with how many miles left, 150 miles. I'll forgive myself for doing it early, and I'll show you how to turn that little spanner off later. I've just given it a drive, engine up to temp to check levels, and that's better for draining your engine oil. Not when it's steaming hot, but when it's warm it flows a little better and drains quicker. Also given it a drive and really thought about if there's any knocks, bumps, if it feels okay, the brakes feel good, handbrake's alright, gear changes, etc, etc. And everything feels okay. I know there's a little problem, but we'll come to that later. And so what we'll do first, before we do anything else, is pop the bonnet, raise the vehicle and get the oil draining, and just shortly before then, pull the bonnet, there we go, I'll show you what I've bought to service the car with. So I'm not going to start anything controversial here and tell you what's right and what's wrong. I've got some 5-weight-40 fully synthetic engine oil, 5 litres, it's about 4.5 litres this takes. Oil filter, fuel filter, air filter, cabin filter, or some people have pollen filter, and I treated it to a pair of blades as well. It's winter time and the other blades are about a year old now. As you can see, they're not the most expensive filters. I've got these from Euro Car Parts. I live in the middle of nowhere, so I have to have them delivered. But all of this, including the oil and the blades, I think cost about 38 quid. And I service it regularly, so I'm not going to go and spend 10 quid just on an oil filter, when this probably is the same filter, just with not got Bosch on it or whatever fancy other name you want to have. So basic filter kit for a full service on any diesel engine really, especially the 2-litre HDi. So there we go. So let's start looking at what tools we need. And
well, you don't really need too much to service one of these. Jack's handy to raise to get a drain pan, which is actually still over there. I haven't collected that yet. So a drain oil pan, a jack. Also you need to check all your joints and your wheel bearings, so you need to raise each corner of the vehicle. And then we've got some copper grease and some 3-in-1 oil for things like joints and hinges and stuff. A 22mm socket, that's for the fuel filter housing. Phillips screwdriver for the air filter housing. A little screwdriver is always useful for little bits and bobs as we go, taking clips off and stuff. That is Allen key, as you can see. And it is, if I remember rightly, an 8mm, yeah, 8mm, so 8mm Allen key, doesn't have to be on a 3/8. Tyre pressure gauge, screwdriver, oil filter wrench of some sorts, quite handy if it's a bit tight, and a little rag obviously to tidy things up afterwards and catch strips, etc. Other than that, you'll just need the parts that I've also shown you. So there you go, that's all you'll really need. You might need a couple other specialist tools if you're doing another different car perhaps, but generally speaking service tools are pretty simple like this. Boom! So we'll start with raising the front of the vehicle so we can get the oil drain pan underneath. So just put an axle stand under there just to make it secure and safe. We'll get a drain pan here. Anything will do obviously, but I've got a nice one there that'll hold the oil filter as well. Get our 8mm Allen key, Allen head with a ratchet, undo it a little bit, and then get your drain pan underneath. Easy as it comes out. If it's hot, you don't want it going all down your arm, and then let it dribble down. Lovely jubbly. Now we're going to move the drain pan so that obviously as it drains it doesn't go anywhere else, but also so that when we undo the oil filters at the front of the engine, when it dribbles down it'll go into the oil pan again on the floor. So I'll get our oil filter wrench. You can do a number of different things. If it's not too tight you can use your hands, but one of these is about 7 or 8 quid. It's quite handy. Get it on the right way and a few little gentle pulls and our oil filter's undone. There we go. Once it's that point, get our oil pan ready, get our hand up there, undo the last few threads. Let it dribble down nice and gently, so it doesn't splash all over you, all over the floor. And then try and bring it down as it were upside down. As you can see, I'm just trying to do. There we go, and then you can pour the remainder out. So the next stage will be a simple case of jacking up each corner of the vehicle and checking the suspension, the tyres and the brakes. And anything else related. So first thing we're checking here is we check the spring was all correct and present. We're just checking tyres now, that there's even tread wear, there's no bulges or cuts or anything sticking out of the tyre. We also just check the brakes, nice and easy to see them through there. And now we're checking for play. Now play at about 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock is likely to be a lower ball joint or maybe the wheel bearing. But play between 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock, which is just what I found there, is going to be track rod end. So I'm going to make a little note in a second that I've got a track rod end there that I need to replace at some point soon. I'll just turn the wheel right around so we can clearly see a few different things. We've got the CV boots, they don't have any splits or any signs of grease coming out. The brake lines need to be nice and secure, and no splits in the rubber. And nothing fouling anywhere, and all the bushes are in good condition. So we're happy with that. Square up the wheel again. Don't forget to give it a good spin as well to hear the bearing. So we're just going to go swing around to the other side and we can do exactly the same thing. So repeat again, checking the tyre is in good condition, no odd tread or wear patterns going on, no odd play. We've got a little bit of play this side again in that same position, so it's actually due to track rod ends. It's a tiny amount of play, but this will be the time to change it. Otherwise you'll get odd wear on your tyres. So all is well and safe. Just have a look at the front there as well, make sure there's no gearbox oil leaks, and checking the thickness of the pads and the disc then as well. That's what I was just doing there. Then we're going to go to the rear of the vehicle. We're going to chock the front wheels, release the handbrake and raise each corner of the rear of the vehicle and do a similar check. So we're checking for wheel bearings, play in any direction. I've taken an opportunity here as well just to have a look at the exhaust condition, anything hanging down, any leaks of any sort. You can see there's a slight leak of exhaust gases on that back box. Again, I've made a note that will need changing again quite soon, as you can just see there. And just giving a bit of play, I've got a little knock there as well. That's just because it's just come out of position slightly. But yeah, that's not good, that's blowing a little bit, so that needs replacing pretty soon too. Checking for any rust. Don't really have any issues with this, and the dampers aren't leaking any oil, and there's nothing, again, just dangling down, spare wheel, etc. Good spin. You can hear then if there's any problems with the wheel bearing, feel if there's any problems with the tyre, and you're also, if it's freewheeling quite badly at the back there, it's likely, with no resistance from the brakes, that basically your brakes need adjusting, which we'll come to in a little bit. Tyre wear feels okay. That's what I'm just checking there. There's no play in any directions. We're just going to apply the handbrake 3 clicks and see if the wheel holds. Yeah, it does quite firmly, but there is a little bit of adjustment still to go there because the wheel spins so freely. So we're just going to do the same now on the other side. All the same checks. Spins, play, giving it a wiggle, giving it a wobble, and then checking again with the handbrake on and off. But there's no binding and the handbrake holds. 3 to 5 clicks should be about. Okay, now we're going to adjust the rear brakes. Don't do this if you don't feel confident. Get a mechanic to do it. We're going to remove a bolt from each of the rear wheels. We'll then jack up that one side, remove that bolt, release the handbrake, and we're going to turn the wheel until we can find the little adjuster which looks like a little cog facing you. Once you've found it, apply a foot brake, and that'll open up the adjuster and show you how much you need to turn the cog until the gap between the adjuster and its stop is no longer there. Only takes 3 or 4 clicks usually. What you're looking for is obviously the wheel not to be binding, but at the same time not to completely be freewheeling. We're just adjusting the brakes even more there, putting more pressure on it, so we can see if we need to adjust it any more. As I say, don't go too far, it's quite tricky to bring it back. Once that's done, you'll find your handbrake will be better and your foot brake will be better. There'll be less of a no man's land when you first apply the foot brake. That seems good, it's not binding. There's just a little bit of rubbing, you can just hear the brake shoes just touching on the drum. And then obviously we put the bolt back in, tighten it up, and do the same the other side. It's going to make quite a dramatic difference to your brake's efficiency, particularly your handbrake. And it always surprises people how well the brakes feel on their foot once you adjust this. It's a great part of the service.
Right, what I'm going to do now is check the functions. Careful not to start the car when you do this. So just to cut the ignition on, make sure fans are working okay. That will only work on engine starting, but obviously not going to do that. Rear wiper, yeah, that's working. Front wiper and spray. Looks like we need to clear the right hand one. Can you see that? New blade's going on. That's all working okay. Fog lights on. That's fine. So let's just go and check some of these lights. That's main beam, side lights, rear fog, and indicators.
So we'll next check the brake lights. We'll get a piece of wood, a piece of paper to protect the seat, and jam the piece of wood between the brake pedal and the seat itself, and that will apply the brake lights for us. So best we get on with the engine. We'll take the engine cover off. Yours might just have 4 clips or might have no clips, so click on the link on the top right now and I'll just show you a guide about how I solved that. And then we've got the engine, so that's the air filter, fuel filter, and a cabin or pollen filters under there. So we'll do the pollen filter first. That's pretty simple. You just lift the pollen filter up and yank it out. There we go, looking a bit dirty. So get a knife out, open up a new nice clean pollen or cabin filter, and that just slots in there and drops down. One of the easiest filters to change, to be honest. Right, next one will be our air filter. Just need a Phillips screwdriver for this. There's 4 screws which hold the cover on the air filter, the top part. You just undo those. They won't come fully out. They'll just come undone and they'll stay with the lid. Lid lifts up, filter comes out. Lovely and dirty. And then we'll just get the new filter, nice and simple, and that will just slot in. Take obviously the plastic off it first. That'd probably be quite helpful. There we go. Now that'll just slot in the gap quite nicely. Just check that there's no leaves, no gump, no dead birds in there. Lid back on, screws back in. Just hand tight's fine. It's just an air cover top at the end of the day. Just as long as it holds a nice seal, that's fine. So next we're just going to check the battery, take the cover off. They've just got a little symbol on it. I do need to fix that though. That bracket needs to be more secure than that. It comes up green, so that's just fine. If it was any other colour, it might need replacing. Checking the levels, brake fluid looks good. Was replaced recently, so it's a good colour. If it wasn't a good colour, then if it was like black, then you'd want to be thinking about replacing that brake fluid, but it's nice urine colour. There was a little bit of a leak on that elbow, so I've cleaned it off, and then maybe next time I have a look at the engine bay, see if it's dirty again then, and that'll show boost leak. Checking oil leaks, checking coolant level. They're pretty tricky to check actually, but it's good to check there's no residue in there. You can just see the level in. Again, I had replaced it recently, so I'm pretty confident of that anyway. So I'm going to put the oil filter on now. So we get the oil filter out, and we want to put a little bit of oil on the oil filter seal. So I'm just going to get a rag first, clean off the face of where the oil filter sits, open a can of nice new oil. Just get a bit of oil on your finger and put it on that seal there. Now this actually doesn't make the seal not work, not function. It's a good practice. It'll stop the rubber basically gluing itself to the engine, and then the next time you come to do a service you'll be very thankful for that. You screw it on, hand tight. Next job, fuel filter. So a little screwdriver just to take those clips off. A little button goes in and then they just flick off. Be careful though, plastic can get brittle at this age. The car is like 14 years old, 15 years old now. There's going to be a dribble of fuel, don't worry about that. You've got your drain pan, don't forget. But give it a bit of a clean off. And we've got our nice new clean fuel filter with a little O-ring as well. So you'll need a 22mm, I believe it is. 23 if not. And a socket ideally. You need to push down and turn anti-clockwise because there's a little spring. There we go, and that'll do a little pop and that'll come off quite nicely. Lift off nice and gently, fuel will dribble everywhere. Just let it dribble off a little bit. Get a box to stick it in so it doesn't go absolutely everywhere. Pull the filter off the lid, put that to the side, put the spring to the side and get rid of the old filter. Get our new filter out. Now check out the little shape in the bottom there, matches like a little D shape with the bottom of the filter. Slot that in, drop it down, get your little spring clip on the top, then pull out your O-ring and put new O-ring in. Again, make sure it's in the groove, nice and tidy. There we go, lovely jubbly. Get the lid, pop that back on. There is a little arrow to show the orientation, because you don't want the wrong pipes on the wrong side of the clips. Get your tool, now push down and twist clockwise, don't force it, and then you'll feel a little stop. Give it a clean up, pop the pipes back on until they clip and click. They'll be quite clear when they're on, and then give it a good clean up around so that when you turn the ignition on, you'll know if there's any leaks. Now we've got some copper grease. It's part of the service that a lot of people will miss out, even garages to be honest. You just want a little bit of grease, and what we're going to do is we're just going to apply it to the check straps and any hinges that you can access to, but likely the oil works will be more useful to that. So just a little bit of copper grease on those check straps, and that'll stop those horrible clicks and the grinding you get when your doors are opening and shutting. Give a bit more life to those check straps as well, so they don't suddenly break and your door swings open in the wind and smashes into another car. Pretty common on these cars. And a little bit of 3-in-1 oil or WD-40, just stick it in the locks. Stick a bit on the key and work it in and out as well, the key slots. This is just good maintenance and preventative maintenance as well. In the winter, frost comes along and suddenly you can't get in. What's going to happen? Well, you can't get in, and then it's too late. So a little bit of oil is nice and preventative. Get it on your catch as well there. Okay, next thing, tyre pressures. Check your book for the tyre pressures. I won't advise because there's lots of different tyre sizes, so check your tyre size and your wheel size in the book and adjust your tyres to suit. Hopefully they shouldn't be too far out, but mine need a little bit of adjustment here on the rear. Also, I'm just about to go on a long journey, so I'm just increasing a little bit because of doing a long stint on the motorway. Make sure you then adjust them afterwards if you're doing this as well. Simple thing, but this makes a difference with roll holding, and even your miles per gallon will increase if your tyres have been too deflated. Your tyres will wear unevenly, as I said as well, if they're not right. Okay, so sump plug, giving it a clean off, and we're going to replace the washer as well. We're going to put a Doughty washer on, which is rubber basically. You could put a copper one as well, but copper ones you can't reuse. The little rubber ones generally you can. I find they're less likely to leak as well. You don't have to crush them. In replacing your sump plug, always start it by hand. Generally sumps can be quite soft, aluminium for instance, and you don't want to be ruining the threads. Again, so when you're tightening it up, they do not need to be super tight, just so they pinch that washer. It's not under pressure in your sump, so don't be thinking you need to do it really tight. Then clean off all the oil, use a bit of rag, a bit of brake cleaner won't hurt, and make sure it's all nice and dry under there. Then we're going to fill up the engine oil. I've got a little rag just around the filler cap, because you always dribble a little bit, and then we'll fill it up. Now this next bit is done, I think, 32 times speed. It does take time, so be patient. Don't just go glugging it in and pouring all over your engine. Get a bit of clean up, and then we're going to turn the ignition on. We can do that a couple of times so that the priming pump in the boot primes up the fuel system. We can check for leaks before we start the engine. We're just giving that a good check. Looks all okay to me. And then we'll run the engine to make sure that oil circulates. So ignition on again, let the primer system go, start the engine, make sure oil lights go out. There's a little flicker there. And then you know the oil is circulating. Just give it a few seconds to fill up the filter, for instance, and all the galleries you've just drained, and then we can switch the engine off. You'll then need to just let the engine just sit for 30 seconds or so you get an accurate reading on the dipstick. So we'll just check for leaks while we're doing that. Any fuel leaks, any oil leaks, because we've affected both systems or touched both systems. And then we'll check the dipstick. Obviously you want it to be at the max mark. You've just serviced it, so this needs to be at the maximum mark. Anything less, top it up a little bit. But I put 4.5 litres in, and it seems to be bang on the maximum mark. You need to clean off the dipstick, reinsert it, and then check those marks. And we're good to go. Right, engine cover back on. Hit that link in the top right corner again about those fittings. They'll never come off again. And we're going to get a safety pin now. Always keep one in my box to clean out washer jets, and then give the windscreen a good clean. We're going to get rid of any grease from the road. Get rid of your wipers as well if you're not replacing your wipers. Make a massive difference. And then just check they're working. So ignition on, give it a spray, make sure the jets are in the right direction. And you can adjust the jets as well with that little pin. Resetting the service light. Finger on that reset button, ignition on, and then count down from 10. When it gets to 0, there'll be 2 dashes. Then you can release the button, turn the ignition off, turn the ignition back on again, and there we go. Service done.